Yo, Kpaceguy here, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are doing our second ever review, a dedicated review on a center channel speaker, and this time we're bringing you the Definitive Technology CS9080. This isn't your average center channel. This has a built-in subwoofer on the top side of it. 8-inch sub with a 10-inch passive radiator, 300 watts is that plate amplifier. We're going to get into that, but I do need to give a shout out to John Paul, my guy who lives near me. Big fan of the channel. We became friends. He actually bought this as part of his home theater, and he gave it to me to review before he even put it in his own home to see what I thought about this center channel. So shout out to him for providing some content for the channel for you guys. So let's go ahead and start with some specs. So as I said, this isn't any ordinary center channel. This has an 8-inch subwoofer and a 10-inch passive radiator built into the top side of this center channel. It has a plate amp on the back and an option to input a subwoofer input to this center channel. We'll talk more about that shortly. This center channel has a frequency response, a total frequency response of between 24 hertz up to 40,000 kilohertz. And of course, a lot of that is helped by that subwoofer and passive radiator combination. Now, this is an 8 ohm speaker, so it'll be paired with any receiver or amplifier out there, and it has a max sensitivity rating of 91 dB, so it shouldn't be too hard to drive. Now, that amplifier is a Class D amp, and it does have a pair of 5-way binding posts for the regular connection to a receiver or amplifier. Now, this center channel does belong in the BP9000 series, so this is meant to be paired with the 9020, 9040, 9060, all the other tower speakers they have that also have built-in subwoofers. It's meant to be paired with that series. If you are running Definitive Technology speakers, this is an excellent pair, and it does look aesthetically the same as those towers, so it's meant to be paired for a whole cohesive system. But we're going to focus on their center channel itself. Let me turn it around and show you guys the plate amp on the back. So here is that plate amp on the back side here. It's built into the center channel itself, and you're going to see a couple connections that you're familiar with. So of course you have your binding post. This is what you're going to use to connect it to your amplifier or receiver as if you would any other center channel. You have your positive and negative. Above that here is a volume knob, an auto on-off light there, an LED indicator button, and the LFE input. This is the amplifier that powers up the sub and the passive radiator on the top side. So you can actually plug this to your subwoofer output of your receiver or a preprocessor right to the center channel and use this as a dedicated sub, says Definitive Technology. Now, I did that in my testing, which we'll get to in a second. Like I said, volume knob here, so you can adjust it just like a regular subwoofer. You have an auto power indicator, glows blue when it's active. I think it's red when it is off. And then you can turn off the LED indicator on the front, because on the front side of the center channel, you have the logo here. That D logo actually glows whenever the center channel is plugged up and active. It glows a nice little soft white color. So let's talk about why you would want a center channel like this and how good is it actually at being a subwoofer. Alright, this may be like the hardest speaker review that I've ever done because I got a really mixed bag of feelings about this center channel. So I'm going to try to keep it organized. So I'm going to come out and say it right now that this center channel, I get its appeal. Having the sub up front, above it is a nice idea, but it does not beat a dedicated subwoofer. It just cannot do it. It's a small enclosure. It's an 8-inch sub. It's a 300 watt amplifier. While it does sound good, it's not going to beat a dedicated subwoofer. Now, here's what I like about this center channel. I think if you're going to use the sub input on this, I think that's the best case scenario. If you're not going to use the sub output on this, don't get the center channel that has the built-in subs. They have other center channels that don't have built-in subs. Go for those. If you're going to get the center channel, you need to use the input that it provides for you, because without it, it's just a regular old average center channel. So when I was listening to it, like I said, I did subwoofer on and subwoofer off. Subwoofer on gave me a nice sound. It's not full range because it's still only a subwoofer. So it's only playing what a regular subwoofer would play. So whatever you cross your subwoofers at, that's what the top will play. A full range speaker plays 20 hertz up to 20 kilohertz, or 20 hertz up to 20,000 hertz. That's what a full range speaker can play. This can't get down to 20 hertz first and foremost. And secondly, the subwoofer is going to have a crossover. It's only going to go up to as high as your receiver will let it go, which is about 200 hertz or 250 hertz on most receivers or preprocessors. So you're going to have to raise the crossover pretty high on this speaker to get a full range presence, if that makes any sense, so that it sounds full range. Otherwise, it's just a subwoofer sitting on top of a center channel. Essentially, is what this is. Now, I personally like it better as a subwoofer center channel mix. The bass that comes out of this isn't large, isn't like really loud, but it is very clean. It does play deep. And what I really like about it is nighttime listening. Like I said, it's at this moment, it's about, let's see what time it is. It's 12:02 right now in the morning. And I was watching movies and I use this as my only sub in the whole system. I turned off both my dedicated subs and only use this one. And it's so nice because I can still have nice bass, clean bass, low bass during movie watching or maybe late night music listening and not disturb anybody. My neighbors can't hear this. It's not rattling the walls. So it's a really nice secondary option for when you want to watch something late at night, but you can't be loud. You can still get really good usable bass out of this and it sounds really good. Now again, it's only an 8-inch sub with a 10-inch radiator, passive radiator, into 300-watt amplifier, so don't expect it to replace your subs. Don't come with the expectation that this is going to allow you to sell your subwoofers. Your dedicated subwoofers will still be a lot better than this, but it is nice to have if you need to turn off your dedicated subwoofers and only use this at night. It is really, really nice. Now, I do have some pros and cons of this, so let me tell you a few cons. Now, this being a subwoofer is an issue. You can't place this center channel like in a cabinet or put anything on top of it or push it against the wall because you're going to cause yourself some bass issues, boundary room gain when you put something against the wall. If you have other subs in the system, you may cause yourself some phase issues, some time alignment issues, right? So although it sounds nice to have some subs built into your center channel, it may not play nice with all the other subs you may be using in your home theater. If you're like me, I have 2 dedicated subwoofers, so having this added to it would be a little bit difficult for me to set up because my subs are way bigger than this and they just wouldn't play nice with each other. Now, if you have multiple subs or you get their tower speakers, each of their tower speakers has subs in them too. So let's say you get the front left center channel and the front right speaker from Definitive Technology. That's 3 speakers that not only need power, but they need a subwoofer signal. And most receivers have 1 or 2 subwoofer outputs, but we need 3, right? You may be able to find a way around that, but even if you have 1 or 2 outputs, usually on most receivers, unless you're spending a lot of money, those inputs on your or outputs on your receiver are not independent from each other, meaning you can't have sub number 1 be tuned separately from sub number 2. Your receiver is going to treat them both as one sub, so you can't fine tune each sub. So if you have this center channel and dedicated subs or this center channel and their other matching tower speakers, you're going to have a hard time dialing in those subs because you don't have enough outputs, right? And then maybe you have a receiver or preprocessor that has it, then you're fine. But most of us don't have enough outputs to do that. So keep that in mind. And you don't have the ability to play with phase. On the back of this center channel here, like we saw, we have a volume knob, and that is it. So it's relying on your crossover inside your receiver. It's also relying on your phase, like 0 to 180 degree switch, or maybe you have a variable phase. You have to rely on that inside of your receiver. So if you change the phase or crossover for this, you're also changing it for every other sub that's plugged up to this as well. So it causes a little bit of an issue, right? So the goal that Definitive Technology wants you to do is to give this its dedicated own sub output and make it full range. Raise the crossover to 200 hertz, turn the crossover off on the center channel itself, and let it be full range that way. That's the only way that you can get this to work. So if you only have one output, it has to be dedicated to this center channel. If you have two outputs, one of them needs to be dedicated to this one, and the other one needs to be dedicated to every other sub that you have. So it's not as easy as just buying this and plugging it up to your system and making it work. It's going to be a little bit tougher to do that if you're planning on using more than this as a subwoofer. Other than that, it sounds good. It sounds really good. I like the subs in this. The subs sound good. They get plenty enough loud for you to be happy. But if you're not going to use this as intended, it's not worth the money. Buy a center channel from them that doesn't have the subs built in. If you're not going to use this as a full range center as intended, don't buy it. Buy the versions that don't have the subs built in and use those sub outputs on your receiver for dedicated subs or for the tower speakers if you're matching the center channel with their respective models. That's my personal opinion. All right, in closing, guys, all in all, I think the center channel is pretty cool. I like the thought of it. It's not as easy to integrate as you may think, so definitely weigh your odds, kind of see what your plans are for your home theater before you buy this. Now, I am aware that this is discontinued. They're now in their DM line, I think it's called, for their new series. So, but a lot of people are still out there buying this or talking about this. And some people still want to match it with some of the speakers that they're using now. But all in all, I do think it's a pretty good center channel. If you don't use the subs inside and you just use the front three speakers, the tweeter and the two drivers, I think it's an average center channel. In that case, your money is best spent elsewhere. If you're going to use it as a full range center channel, I do see its appeal and it does have the ability to work, but you need to have a plan on how you're going to integrate any other subs you're planning on using in conjunction with this. Otherwise, you're going to have a pretty mediocre sound if you're not prepared to tune it with other subwoofers. Maybe you need a better preprocessor or a receiver to make it happen. So have a plan in mind before you buy this, because you can't just plug it up and toss it into the system. But if you have the means, I think it could work. So again, shout out to John Paul for allowing me to review this. Hopefully he has a better time integrating it into his system. I do know that he's building a full Definitive Technology system. He just picked up my Definitive Technology sub. I just gave him a sub, and he has the towers as well. So he's making a whole DefTech system, which we're going to see really, really soon here on the channel. By the way, he's 17 years old, so it's a really cool setup. So shout out to him for allowing me to have this for the night. I will be giving this back to him so he can get ready to have it in his own system, and we'll help him out and get it set up and everything. So leave me a comment down below, guys, and let me know what you think about center channels with built-in subwoofers. And also, while we're at it, let me know what you think about towers with built-in subwoofers. What do you think about that? Is it worth it? Does it work? Is it a gimmick? Let me know down below in the comment section, and hit that like button and subscribe if you are not already. We will see you guys in the next video. Kpaceguy out. Peace.